Hello students, welcome to Radiant PU College Vijaypur, where we conduct online classes for Karnataka CET, NEET, JEE, theory for class 11 and class 12. My dear students, today I am in front of you to discuss a mock test on complete syllabus of chemistry, that is for class 11 and class 12. In this session, we people will be discussing the questions which are related with Karnataka CET and NEET examination. This will be a session where we will have 45 questions which will be MCQ based. Okay, so let's not waste our time and let us start with our question number 1. Here is the question number 1 for you people. Fluorine is more electronegative than either boron or phosphorus. What conclusion can be drawn from the fact that PF3 has no dipole moment but PF3 does? So let us divide the question into two parts first. I am just making this as my part 1 from here to here. Fluorine is more electronegative than either boron or phosphorus. From this we people can write our first point that fluorine is having greater electronegativity on comparison with phosphorus, and phosphorus is having greater electronegativity on comparison with boron. Fluorine on Pauling scale is almost 4 electronegativity, which is highest for any element in periodic table. Then phosphorus comes with 2.19 as electronegativity and boron is with 2.04 electronegativity. So the electronegativity is highest for fluorine and it is lowest for boron in these three elements, and phosphorus lies in between fluorine and boron. Okay, so this is our point number 1 which has been given in our question. Point number 2, what it says: what conclusion can be drawn from the fact that BF3 has no dipole moment but PF3 has? So they are saying that we have a molecule which is called as boron trifluoride. For this boron trifluoride, the dipole moment, which is represented by mu, they are saying it is equal to 0. That means it has no dipole moment. Whereas phosphorus trifluoride PF3, they are saying the dipole moment is present. That means it is not equal to 0. When it is equal to 0, that means it does not have any dipole moment. When it is not equal to 0, it means that it is having a value which is greater than 0, right? It can be 1, 2, anything. Fine. So PF3 has dipole moment. PF3 के पास dipole moment होता है, but in BF3 we don't have dipole moment. So we need to give a reason for it. Here they have mentioned 4 reasons in form of 4 options: A, B, C and D. We need to give one of the option which is correct one. Okay, let me tell you. The dipole moment is calculated with this formula. Mu is for our dipole moment is Q into D, where Q is charge and D is distance. So I am writing that Q is charge and D is distance. Okay, and the SI unit for it is coulomb per meter. Why? Because the charge is calculated in terms of coulomb and distance is calculated in terms of meter, so it will be coulomb meter, or else there is a standard symbol for the SI unit of our dipole moment. It is called as d by, which is represented by capital D. It is called as d by. Okay, so these are the details with respect to this one. Now see here, when we people talk about charge is usually in terms of magnitude. अच्छा, जिन लोगों को मैग्नीट्यूड में कोई अगर डाउट है तो मैं उनको बता देता हूं कि कितना फैला हुआ है उसको हम मैग्नीट्यूड कहते हैं. अगर कम एरिया में है, अगर थोड़े डिस्टेंस पर है तो मैग्नीट्यूड कम होगा. ज़्यादा अगर फैला हुआ है तो ज़्यादा एरिया को कवर करा है तो मैग्नीट्यूड ज़्यादा होगा. सो चार्ज इज बीन कैलकुलेटेड इन टर्म्स ऑफ मैग्नीट्यूड, एंड डिस्टेंस, यू पीपल नो, डिस्टेंस इज our bond length. I'll write it as BL. BL is my bond length. What is bond length? Suppose if I am taking two atoms which are associated with each other, the internuclei distance, that means the distance between their two nuclei from here to here will be called as my bond length. Okay, so we need to talk about charge and we need to talk about bond length, and we also know that our dipole moment mu is a vector quantity. We people have already studied this. Why vector quantity? It has both magnitude, इसके पास magnitude होता है, along with that it also has direction. So where is direction? We people talked about magnitude. The smearing of charge can be called as magnitude. But where exactly is the direction? For direction, my dear students, in chemistry you need to refer to inductive effect, which is in electron displacement theory of PUC first year. इंडक्टिव इफेक्ट के बारे में कुछ याद करने की कोशिश करें और इलेक्ट्रॉन डिस्प्लेसमेंट थ्योरी के बारे में कुछ याद करने की कोशिश करें. There you people will come to know, or you people will have an idea that the electron displacement theory or in inductive effect, we people say that the movement of electron will take place towards more electronegative atom. That means, in short, electrons will move towards more electronegative atom. Suppose, say for example, here only I have boron which is connected with fluorine. If I talk about which is more electronegative, here we people have the series given, where this is our series. In this series we know that fluorine is more electronegative on comparison with boron and phosphorus. So if the fluorine is more electronegative, the electron of boron should move towards fluorine. The electron of boron should move towards fluorine. Why? Fluorine is 4 on electronegativity scale, that is Pauling scale, and boron is almost 2 on electronegativity scale. So fluorine is almost double electronegative on comparison with boron. तो fluorine क्या करेगा? बोरॉन के इलेक्ट्रॉन को अपनी तरफ खींचेगा, because of which the negative magnitude charge, यानी कि the negative charge on fluorine will increase. So what is increasing? The negative charge of fluorine is increasing, right? And where is the electron moving? Electron is moving from boron to fluorine. The head shows that it is moving towards fluorine. कहाँ से start हो रहा है? From boron. So this vertical line on arrow mark says from boron it is moving towards fluorine. That means it is having direction as well as it is having magnitude of charge, right? Any quantity which has magnitude and direction can be called as vector. So the movement of electron should take place from less electronegative towards more electronegative atom. यही theory को we people will be utilizing to solve our question. So quickly we people will come to the structure of boron and phosphorus. So now let us start with BF3 molecule. For that, before we people will talk about electronic configuration of boron. Boron has an electronic configuration of 1s2, 2s2 and 2p1. There are few concepts related to the valence shell. 1s2 is the first shell, that is K, and this is L. So 1s2 is the first shell and 2s and 2p are the second shell. So one electron from 2s, if it jumps to 2p, it will have one electron dispatching in 2s, 1 electron. In 2p we have 3 orbitals, that is px, py and pz. It will have one electron. So in outermost orbital there will be one electron, or else the most relevant theory is hybridization, where s and p undergo hybridization to form sp hybridized orbitals. So this concept can also be understood via hybridization method. If you want more details on hybridization concept and all, you can refer chapters like general organic chemistry and chemical bonding. So our main motto over here is to understand that boron has 3 electrons in its outermost shell, which can react with fluorine. So if I draw boron with 1, 1, 2 and 3 electrons. Okay, 1, 2 and 3 electrons. So boron is with 3 electrons. And when we people talk about fluorine, everybody knows that the atomic number of fluorine is 9. Electronic configuration is 1s1, 1s2, 2s2, then 2p5. In outermost orbital of fluorine, we people have 7 electrons, and 1 electron is less. 1 electron is less for octet. Okay. So fluorine is in find of 1 electron. So when fluorine comes here with how many? 7 electrons. This is 1 electron of fluorine. Okay. So this is 1 electron of fluorine. This is 1, 2, 4, 5. Okay. This is 1 electron. This electron and this electron will share with each other and they will form a bond. So now fluorine, after 7 taking this 1 electron, it will become 8 and fluorine will come in octet configuration. Boron, by taking 3 plus 3 electrons from fluorine, it will also acquire a stable electronic configuration. So in this way, the boron can get connected with fluorine at how many ends? 3 ends. This is how the shape of molecule BF3 comes into picture, and the angle between this and this is 120 degrees. So that's why this boron is called as planar triangular in shape. Okay. So if I just connect all those angles, you people will come to know how exactly it looks. I am connecting this fluorine. I am connecting this fluorine, and I am connecting this fluorine. So it's a triangular base with boron at center. Okay. In similar way, in similar fashion, now if you people go with the inductive effect theory, the movement of electron should take place towards fluorine. That means all the electrons of the boron will move towards more electronegative atom, that is nothing but fluorine. So the direction of flow of electron is towards fluorine. The magnitude is increasing on fluorine. Fluorine at all the ends becomes negative while it is taking electron, and boron should become more positive, because boron is pushing the electrons towards fluorine. Fluorine is becoming negative and boron is becoming positive. So the movement of electron is in this direction, and it is in this direction, and it is in this direction, we can say. So this is the dipole moment where the fluorine or molecule of fluorine is being represented. Now suppose, say for example, if in BF3, if I want to say in BF3, I want to represent the dipole moment. Why? Because the second part of the question says, what conclusion can be drawn that BF3 has no dipole but PF3 does? That means we need to know whether BF3 has no dipole and PF3 has. So in BF3, when I say boron is connected to 3 fluorine atoms, and the direction of movement of electrons is towards fluorine, I am just representing it by arrow mark. Okay. Now, just to understand it in a better manner, my dear students, what I'll do is, I'll say that the electron which is moving towards fluorine has a dipole moment mu1. Why? The direction is on this side, and the charge is, or the magnitude of the charge is also developing on fluorine, and boron will become positive and fluorine will become negative. It has both magnitude as well as direction, the vector quantity. There is bond distance in bond length in between these two, boron and fluorine. So we can have both the things. Mu can be charge into displacement, right? So mu can be charge into displacement, both the things are present here. So this is mu1. Similarly, I can have mu2 and I can have mu3. If I say this is first fluorine, this is second fluorine, and this is third fluorine. Now I'll say that mu1 is equal to x, mu2 also is equal to x, and I'll write the mu3 here. Mu3 is equal to 2x. Why? Let me say that the charge on mu3 is little bit more. Now if I exactly divide it into two parts vertically, if this is one direction of the dipole moment, its equal and opposite direction will be this one. Getting my point? So if I have to attain the value of mu from here for this particular value, then it should be in between mu1 and mu2, or else I can say that the magnitude or the resultant magnitude of mu1 and mu2 is my this mu, okay, which is equal and opposite to mu3, is equal and opposite to mu3. So from here we people can say mu is equal to, which is the resultant dipole, can be mu1 plus mu2, right? Or I'll give it as a value as 4. Mu4 is equal to mu1 plus mu2. So what is the resultant dipole? Mu is equal to mu3 plus mu4. Okay, so mu is equal to, what is mu3? The value of mu3 is 2x, but it is equal and opposite, so I'll write it as minus 2x plus, what is the value of mu4? Mu4 is mu1 plus mu2. What is mu1? mu1 is x, and what is mu2? mu2 is also x. So it will be x plus x, it should be 2x. So my dear student, this is minus 2x and plus 2x, this gets cancelled. So the resultant dipole over here is 0. That means the resultant dipole of 2 fluorine is equal and opposite to the third fluorine, because of which the net resultant dipole in this molecule will become 0. That means it is correct. BF3 has no dipole. Why? Because the value of mu is equal to 0. We have proved it. Okay. Now when we people come towards PF3 molecule. So if I have to draw PF3 molecule, I have phosphorus with atomic number 15, electronic configuration 1s2, 2s2. This 1s is my first shell, 2s2, 2p6 is my second shell, then 3s2 is my, and 3p3 is my third shell. So this is my valence shell. In valence shell I have how many electrons? 5 electrons. That means around the phosphorus, if I see in 3s orbital, I have 2 electrons, and in 3p orbital is divided into 3 suborbitals as px, py and pz. Now how many electrons are here? 3 electrons. So we can give 1 electron as per according to the Hund's rule. So 1 that means it has 1 paired electron and 3 unpaired electrons. So first I'll draw, this is my paired electron, and then the phosphorus can have 3 unpaired electrons. So these 3 unpaired electrons can combine with fluorine 1, 2 and 3. What is the net resultant dipole? Who is more electronegative in between phosphorus and fluorine? We know fluorine is having more electronegativity compared to phosphorus as well as boron. We people have seen this trend. So here the electron movement will be towards fluorine here and here. So any 2 fluorine net resultant will be equal and opposite to the other fluorine. Suppose if I say the net resultant of these 2 fluorine is plus 2x, as we people have seen in case of boron, and the resultant of this fluorine is minus 2x, then this and this will get cancelled. Here the mu will become 0 in case of only fluorines. Okay, so it is only with respect to fluorines. But we people see that, sir, here there is also presence of lone pair of electron. When there is lone pair of electron, this is the area of what? High electronegativity. That means the electrons of phosphorus should move towards where? Lone pair of electron. That means these three, this fluorine, and this fluorine are giving me a dipole of how much? 0. But a small dipole is also generated due to what? Lone pair of electrons. When a small dipole is generated towards lone pair of electrons, at that particular point of time, we people cannot say that the resultant dipole is 0. For fluorine, 3 fluorines, they are giving me 0. That is absolutely right. But lone pair of electron is generating some charge, some kind of charge magnitude. So when it is generating some kind of charge magnitude, at that particular point of time, the dipole cannot be equal to 0. Okay. So PF3 does, BF3 has no dipole, but PF3 does. दैट मीन्स BF3 के पास कोई डाइपोल मोमेंट नहीं है, लेकिन PF3 के पास है. तो हमने प्रूव कर दिया BF3 के पास कोई भी डाइपोल मोमेंट नहीं है, लेकिन PF3 की वैल्यू इज नॉट इक्वल टू 0, यानी कि उसके पास डाइपोल है. दैट इज करेक्ट थिंग. नाउ व्हाट इज द स्ट्रक्चर? इफ आई कनेक्ट ऑल द 4 पॉइंट्स ऑफ PF3, अगर मैं PF3 के चारों पॉइंट्स को कनेक्ट कर लूं तो मुझे कुछ इस तरीके से स्ट्रक्चर नजर आएगा, जो कि all of them are connected to phosphorus. I can say that it looks like pyramid, so it is pyramidal in shape. Okay, so it is BF3 is planar triangular and it is pyramidal in shape. Why it is pyramidal? Due to presence of lone pair. Why it is not pyramidal but triangular? Due to absence of lone pair. Okay, so if there is no lone pair, there is no dipole. If there is lone pair, there is dipole. So what should be the answer? BF3 is spherically symmetric. BF3 is not spherically symmetrical, but we know that it is spherically symmetrical. Why? The angle is equal angle and the distance between the bonds is equidistant. So BF3 is a symmetrical molecule, right? So first option cannot be right. Why? It is saying BF3 is not spherically symmetrical, but we know that BF3 is spherically symmetrical. BF3 must be linear. No, BF3 is not a linear molecule. The diagram itself says that it is not linear. Linear in the sense it should come in a type of AB2 kind of structure, but we know that BF3 is a kind of AB3 type of structure. AB2 are linear, but AB3 are not linear ones. Atomic radius of phosphorus is larger than boron. It does not impact on dipole moment. तो इसकी हम चर्चा नहीं करेंगे. That is not an option. तो लास्ट मीनिंग है BF3 molecule must be planar triangular. Yes, BF3 molecule is planar triangular, so that's why the dipole moment is 0 due to absence of electron. So here it's a possible option, that option D, due to absence of lone pair of electron, the shape becomes planar triangular, because of which the net resultant dipole is 0. But in case of PF3, why it has dipole? Due to lone pair of electron, the shape changes to pyramidal. Okay, I have covered almost every point of dipole moment in this example. If any different kind of example on dipole moment, if it is asked, you can easily solve with respect to these formulas. Okay. Quickly now we will move on to our next question. So now let us discuss the question number 2. The volume temperature graphs of a given mass of ideal gas at constant pressure are shown below. So here is a graph in which people can say that it is volume versus temperature at constant pressure as per according to the Charles law. As the volume increases, or as the temperature increases, the volume also increases, is been said by Charles law. But if you people keenly look at this particular graph, if I say this is at P2, I am just marking the volume. At P2, I'll say that this is volume 1, and at P3 it is my volume 2, and at P1 it is my volume 3. So if I look, V1 is greater than V2 and V2 is greater than V3. That means the highest volume is for V1 and the lowest volume is for V3. Now here we people will apply a condition which is given for pressure versus volume. So pressure versus volume, the conditions have been given with respect to Boyle's law. What does Boyle's law say? Boyle's law says that pressure is inversely proportional to volume. That means as the pressure increases, volume should decrease. अगर प्रेशर इंक्रीज होता है तो वॉल्यूम क्या होना चाहिए? डिक्रीज होना चाहिए. होना चाहिए, नहीं होना चाहिए. So from this graph, if you people see which is the highest pressure, P2 is greater than P3 and P3 is greater than P1, right? But if we go as per according to this law, if pressure is high, its volume should be low, right? And if volume is low, then pressure should be high. If we go as per according to these three things, we people will come to know over here that so if I just mark out that V1 as my V maximum and V3 as my V minimum, where there is V minimum there should be P maximum, and where there is V maximum there should be P minimum. That means if I just look at this order, which one? This one order, V1 is greater than V2 and V2 is greater than V3. If I plot the pressures for it, at V1 how much is the pressure? P2. At V2 how much is the pressure? P3. And at V3 how much is the pressure? P1. I am drawing it, right? If it is V maximum, why? V1 is what? Maximum. What should be the pressure? Minimum. That means the order of the pressures will change, or it will become reciprocal. Why? At V max it is P minimum and at V minimum it is P maximum. So at V maximum P should be minimum. That means P2 should be, the pressure should be least, then P3 and then this one. So as per according to Boyle's law, if the volume decreases, pressure increases, or if the volume increases, pressure should decrease. So we have seen here the volume is maximum in case of P2. So that's why the pressure is minimum, and the volume is minimum in case of P1. So that's why the pressure is maximum. तो यहाँ पे क्या होगा? P max, P minimum, and यहाँ पे क्या होगा? P max and V minimum. So our right order for pressure should be which one? P1 is greater than P3 is greater than P2. Okay, so where is it? Find out in the options A, B, C and D. Looks like it's option A. Okay, now quickly we people will move on towards our next question, that is question number 3. Which is the most suitable reagent among the following to distinguish compound 3 from the rest of compounds? Okay, so if you people see in option number 1, option number 1 is unsaturated. Why? It is having triple bond. Option 2, this is unsaturated. This is saturated because there is no presence of double or triple bond. Again, if you people see here, there is an unsaturation point in option 3 here, so it is unsaturated. Here also there is presence of double bond, so it is also unsaturated. So option 1, 3 and 4 are unsaturated. 1, 3, 4 are unsaturated and 2 is saturated. Okay, so keep this thing in mind. Now my dear students, you people have learnt in your UC first year about two things. Saturation test can be done in presence of bromine in carbon tetrachloride. Bromine in carbon tetrachloride. So if you add bromine, you take a test tube, okay, In this test tube, you take an unsaturated compound. To this unsaturated compound, you add bromine water in presence of organic solvent, that is carbon tetrachloride. You add it in presence or dissolve it in presence of carbon tetrachloride, that is bromine water. As soon as you add bromine water, the bromine water discharges its color. That means from say like bromine is brown in color, it will become colorless. This we people have studied in PUC first year. And why is this test done? This test is done to test unsaturation of a compound. Unsaturation in the sense presence of double bond and triple bond in a compound. So this bromine water test will allow us to identify whether a compound is saturated or unsaturated. Now, my dear students, if you do the test for number 1, the color will change. If you do for this one, the color will not change, and you will come to know that this is unsaturated and this is saturated. When you do it for 4, at that particular point of time also, the test will give us unsaturation. But when we people come to third option, maybe bromine water might give us test. But if you look at the third option here carefully, there is a presence of triple bond. There is a presence of triple bond at terminal end. Presence of triple bond at terminal end. Here in our syllabus, we people have learnt about alkynes which are having terminal triple bonds. Which are having terminal bonds. Usually we people will say triple bond. Any alkyne which is having terminal triple bond. So if I draw here carbon triply bonded with another carbon atom, and this is connected with hydrogen, and this carbon is connected with carbon which is connected with 2 hydrogen, and connected with another carbon which is connected with 3 hydrogen. So it is CH3, CH2, C triply bonded to C and H, which is the structure of our third one. So if I look at the hybridization, what is the hybridization of this carbon atom? It is sp hybridized. What is the hybridization of this carbon? This is sp hybridized. So the percentage of S character is increasing in both the carbon atoms. Yes or no? When the percentage of S character increases, the negativity increases. The reason is very, very simple. In an atom, if we say at the center we people have nucleus. In an atom at the center we have nucleus. Next to nucleus we people have which orbital? S orbital, right? S orbital is very, very close to nucleus. When it is very, very close to nucleus, that means its negativity should be high. Its negativity should be high. That means the greater is the S character, the greater will be its negativity. The lesser is the S character, the lesser will be its negativity. In case of sp hybridization, the S character is how much? 50%. In case of sp hybridization, S character is 50%. In case of sp2 hybridization, it is 33%. And in case of sp3 hybridization, the S character is 25%. So in terms of which is more negative, sp hybridized orbitals are more negative when compared to sp2 and when compared to sp3. So this is more negative and this is less negative. Why? The greater the S character, the greater is the negativity. The lesser the S character, the lesser is the negativity. I have given you the reason that why negativity of S character increases. As the S character increases, it comes very closer towards the nucleus. The nuclear force of attraction becomes higher. Why it becomes higher? Because it is having more negative character. It's just a proof that the more the S character, more it is negative. When it is more negative, it will come closer towards the nucleus. This all we people have learnt in our structure of atom. Now, the concept which we people are trying to imply over here is that the character is sp character. That means the S character is dominant over here. the carbon atoms which are present at the terminal alkyne, these are more negative when compared to this carbon atom. Or if I say that, if I look at this carbon atom, or if I look at this carbon atom, okay, these triply bonded carbon atoms are more negative. When triply bonded carbon atoms are more negative, I'll give a negative sign on this carbon atom. According to electron displacement theory, the electron should move towards more electronegative atom. That means the electron of hydrogen will come towards carbon, making hydrogen more positive. As the hydrogen becomes more positive, if any nucleophile comes into picture, मान लेके चलते हैं कि कोई एक न्यूक्लियोफाइल यहाँ पे आता है, तो सब में पहले किस पे अटैक करेगा? It will attack on hydrogen atom and it will take away the hydrogen atom. That means the greater the S character, easy is the donation of hydrogen atom. I'll write it here. More S character, more negative is carbon and more acidic is hydrogen. So more is S character, more negative is carbon, ये तो पता चल गया. Now what is more is acidity of hydrogen? More is acidity of hydrogen in the sense you can easily donate this hydrogen. Why? Hydrogen has become positive. If anyone with greater negativity comes, this carbon will easily give away this hydrogen. So as soon as this hydrogen will give easily, this hydrogen will be easily donated to any of the nucleophile. At that particular point of time, we people can say that the terminal carbon atoms are more acidic in nature. And if you want to test the acidity of terminal hydrogen atom or terminal carbon, not hydrogen atom, terminal carbon atom, in our PUC first year, the test is given with respect to ammonical silver nitrate solution. So if you add ammonical silver nitrate solution, there you people will come to know the acidity of terminal carbon atom. So among 1, 2, 3 and 4, 1, 2 and 4 are the compounds which can be tested with respect to bromine water, but you cannot test 3 with respect to bromine water. To test 3 with respect third option, that is terminal alkyl group, you have to go with option D. You have to do the test with ammonical silver nitrate solution. यानी कि 1, 2 and 4 you can go with bromine with carbon tetrachloride, and for 3 you have to go with ammonical silver nitrate solution. Bromine with carbon tetrachloride will tell you whether the compound is having double bond or triple bond, but ammonical silver nitrate will never tell you whether it is having double bond or triple bond. It will tell you whether the terminal carbon atom is acidic or not. Okay, so the question is very, very clear. Which is the most suitable reagent among the following to distinguish compound 3? They have specifically said compound 3 from the rest of the compounds. So compound 3 from rest of the compounds can be tested with respect to ammonical silver nitrate solution. So our option will be option D here. Okay. So our next question is question number 4. In extraction of copper, the metal is formed in the Bessemer converted due to which of the following reaction? So first of all, we will see what is Bessemer converter. So here is the diagram for Bessemer converter. Here we people have a tank in which we people have molten matte. Molten matte is nothing but copper. Okay. The interior lining of this converter is with SiO3, that is silicon lining. Okay. Hot air and sand is blown from this end, fine, through the tires. Okay, not tires. Tires is something different one, and these are the tires which are rotatory ones. Okay, so hot air and sand is blown from here, and water gases, they move away from top of the thing. So when you people add copper matte into this, along with this copper matte, we people see that we people have iron as an impurity. Iron will combine with SiO3 to form, iron as an impurity will combine with SiO3 to form FeSiO3, and FeSiO3 is a slag. That means the impurities of iron can be easily removed by Bessemerization process. After basimerization process, you people will see that once the process gets completed, I'm not going in detail with respect to this process. Okay, once the process gets completed, you will see that whatever the copper metal is being obtained, it is in form of blister copper. Okay, why it is called as blister copper and all those things we people will see. So after roasting or during the process of roasting, the copper is available in form of copper sulfide, that is Cu2s. Cu2s is an copper ore where copper is associated with an impurity of sulfur. So when we roast it in presence of oxygen, at this particular point of time, what I will get is this sulfur which is present over here will combine with oxygen to form SO2, and whatever copper is remaining, Cu2, it will combine with oxygen to form Cu2O. Okay, so an oxide of copper is been formed with liberation of sulfur dioxide gas. Sulfur dioxide gas will get liberated. So this is the reaction we people have seen in roasting process. Which process? Roasting. There are two processes, calcination and roasting process. So calcination is being done for non-sulfidic ores, and roasting is purely done for sulfidic ores. Okay, so in calcination it is done in absence of air because already the air is present within the ore. In roasting, as we people see in Cu2s, there is no presence of oxygen, so that's why this reaction takes place in presence of oxygen. Suppose, say for example, if I say, if you people are doing for calcination, if I take an example of CaCO3, in CaCO3 ore already oxygen is present, you need not to supply extra oxygen over here. But when we people talk about sulfide ores, in this sulfide ore there is no presence of oxygen which is pre-present inside our ore, so that's why the reaction has to be carried out in presence of air. So copper sulfide on in reaction in presence of air will form copper oxide plus sulfur dioxide. So what will happen is, whatever the copper oxide is been formed, that is nothing but our Cu2O, again it will react with the remaining part of Cu2s. Say like I had 100% of Cu2s, the product which was formed was only like 80%. Now I have 20% of Cu2s. So this 20% of remaining Cu2s will react with Cu2O which is formed here. तो क्या होगा, 100% में से 80% प्रोडक्ट कन्वर्ट हो गया है, तो जो प्रोडक्ट बना है Cu2O, यही प्रोडक्ट फिर किसके साथ रिएक्ट करेगा, बचे हुए Cu2s के साथ रिएक्ट करेगा. So this Cu2O will react with Cu2s, leading to formation. Sulfur will take oxygen to form sulfur dioxide, and sulfur dioxide gas will get liberated into atmosphere. I need to balance this reaction, so I'll write it as 2Cu2O. Okay, so it will form, or I'll write it as 2Cu2O, whatever it is, and it will form SO2. Jab sulfur will take oxygen, what is remaining? Just the remaining part is copper, so copper will get collected over here. So whatever this copper is being collected, it is in form of matte form, copper matte form, and if you people see sulfur dioxide, suppose say for example this is my copper. Now the sulfur dioxide gas will move out from here. When it is moving out, this sulfur dioxide will come to the surface and it will form a bubble, and when this sulfur dioxide gas will go out, the bubble will burst. When it bursts, it will lead to formation of a depression. Depression यानी कि एक hole form हो जाएगा. These holes which are formed under copper are actually called as blisters. It is just like अगर आप कुकर में राइस डालकर पका रहे हो, so you will see that after rice has been completely cooked, on the surface of rice you will see small holes. Those holes are called as blisters. वो holes किस लिए बनते हैं, उनमें से पानी और गैस बाहर निकलता है, इसीलिए बनते हैं. In same way, when the sulfur dioxide gas goes away from the metal, okay, when sulfur metal is been formed, when it goes away from metal, it leaves behind a blister, a hole. So that's why the name of copper is called as copper blister. So what exactly is happening? the copper is undergoing self reduction, that is removal of oxygen, right? So the removal of oxygen is happening within the reaction itself. First, copper sulfite is getting converted to copper oxide. The copper oxide which is formed again in turn reacts with remaining copper sulfide to form copper metal. So these reactions can be seen in Bessemerization, and the right reaction which happens in Bessemerization is option A. Copper sulfide reacts with copper oxide to form 6Cu and SO2. So it is option A. Reaction needs balancing. You can refer NCERT textbook for balancing of the reaction. Okay. So the question number 5 is, an example of electrophilic substitution reaction is number 1, chlorination of methane, number 2, conversion of methyl chloride to methyl alcohol, number 3, nitration of benzene, and number 4, formation of ethylene from ethyl alcohol. So let us see one by one what are these 4 processes. So process number 1 is chlorination of methane. If you see, the diatomic chlorine is converted into free radicals. NaK. Suppose, say for example, I have chlorine and chlorine. Okay, when I break this chlorine exactly from center, it will give me chlorine with 2 electrons. So this chlorine, diatomic chlorine is formed by sharing of 2 electrons by means of covalent bond. When I break this covalent bond, I will get 2 chlorine radicals. Each chlorine will get 1 electron. This formation of chlorine is via free radical mechanism. Which mechanism? Free radical mechanism. We people have learnt it in PUC first year. First, it will happen with chain initiation. So you people can see here, chlorine in presence of light, that is H nu, will form free radical. Here the reaction will start. Then the chain will propagate. The free radical of chlorine will react with methane, where 1 hydrogen will be taken by chlorine to form HCl, and it will form free radical of methyl group. This free radical of methyl group, when again it will react with chlorine, it will form methyl chloride and free radical of chlorine. So what we people see, initially the chain started here, and what is happening? The chain is moving forward here. Sometimes it is forming free radical of methyl group, and sometimes it is forming free radical of chlorine. And when this methyl group and chlorine, they combine with each other, just like in this reaction, the reaction will get stopped. If not, if they continue, they will continue with the reaction. Till when? If 2 chlorine attach with each other, they will form dichlorine, the reaction can end. If 2 methyl group attach with each other, they can form ethane, the reaction will end. So this is happening via free radical mechanism. Free radical mechanism is nothing but the diatomic molecule cleaves in such a manner that both receive 1 electrons. Okay, the type of cleavage over here is homolytic cleavage, and due to homolytic cleavage, free radicals are generated. So the first one is via free radical. That means it cannot be our option. They are asking what is an example of electrophilic substitution reaction. Chlorination of methane is free radical mechanism. Now we'll move on towards second, conversion of methyl chloride to methyl alcohol. I hope in PUC second year, chapter number 1 of organic chemistry, that is nothing but our haloalkanes and haloarenes. There we people have talked about SN1 mechanism and SN2 mechanism. SN1 mechanism was for tertiary compounds, and SN2 mechanism was basically for primary compounds. So what is primary carbon and what is secondary and what is tertiary carbon? If a carbon is attached to none or 1 carbon atom, it is primary. If a carbon atom is attached to 2 other carbons, it is secondary. If a carbon atom is attached to 3 other carbon atoms, it is tertiary. So here if people say, I have taken CH3I, here they have given example of CH3I, I am taking CH3Cl, which is conversion of methyl chloride to methyl alcohol. Okay, so in this methyl chloride to methyl alcohol, if the OH group attacks from rear side in the sense from the back side, what will happen? The OH group will get associated with carbon and the chlorine will move outside, leading to formation of CH3OH plus Cl minus. Okay, so it will lead to formation of CH3OH plus Cl minus. So what kind of reaction it is? The name itself says it is N type of reaction. N type in the sense nucleophilic. Why it is nucleophilic? I'll tell you. Here OH is negative. Any radical which is negative is called as nucleophile. The Cl which has come out is also negative, right? So one nucleophile is substituting another nucleophile. So that's why the type of reaction is nucleophilic substitution. But what is given in the question? An example of electrophilic substitution. So option B is SN mechanism, that is nucleophilic substitution. N stands for nucleophile, S stands for substitution, and 2 stands for the order of mechanism. It is second order. That means it takes place in 2 steps. Okay. Now we people will come to third option, that is nitration of benzene. I'll just clear the ink from my slide. In nitration of benzene, benzene is being reacted with nitric acid in presence of sulfuric acid. So if you see here, we people have nitric acid, that is our HNO3. When it reacts with H2SO4, what will happen? So see here, from H2SO4 it will split into H plus and HSO4 minus. This H plus will attach here. If you see, this is the same product. So H plus will get attacked here. Why it will get attacked here? Oxygen has lone pair of electron, and this lone pair of electron, they will attract this hydrogen atom, and when they attract hydrogen atom, it will form a bond with this hydrogen, leading to formation of plus charge on oxygen. Once the plus charge is formed on oxygen, is oxygen stable or unstable? Oxygen is never stable in plus charge. So oxygen has to neutralize this plus charge. If oxygen has to neutralize this plus charge, it has to take electron from any of the end. So this oxygen will take electron from nitrogen. Once it takes electron from nitrogen, the bond from here breaks, NO2, and now see here H2O will get separated. So here now H2O has got separated because NO2 has given electron. It is having which charge on it? Plus charge on it. Okay. Now this NO2 which is in plus charge is called as electrophile. What are electrophiles? Electrophiles are electron deficient species which do not have electron. See here, this nitrogen has given electron to oxygen, because of which this is having lesser number of electrons. नाइट्रोजन ने जैसे ही ऑक्सीजन को इलेक्ट्रॉन दे दिया, नाइट्रोजन के पास क्या होगा? इलेक्ट्रॉन की कमी हो गई, एंड एनीवन हु हैज लेसर इलेक्ट्रॉन्स इज कॉल्ड एज इलेक्ट्रोफाइल. सो NO2 ओवर हियर which is generated is an electrophile. When we react NO2 with benzene ring, it will form nitrobenzene. So what is happening? The hydrogen which is present here will be exchanged. इसके जगह पे NO2 ग्रुप आ जाएगा और हाइड्रोजन बाहर चला जाएगा. इफ यू सी, द NO2 group is positioned in place of hydrogen, and the hydrogen has come out. So what has happened? Hydrogen, when it is coming out, it is in form of H plus, right? From benzene, the hydrogen, if it is coming out, it is in form of H plus, and if NO2 is entering inside, it is also in form of plus charge. So this is NO2 is also an electron which is coming inside, and H plus is also an electrophile which is going outside. So both of these are electrophiles here. That means one electrophile is substituting another electrophile. So that's why the type of reaction over here should be electrophilic substitution. So the option C is the right option for question number 5. An example of electrophilic substitution reaction is nitration of benzene. Formation of ethylene from alcohol. So ethyl alcohol is C2H5OH. When we do the reaction in presence of H plus ion, it will lead to formation of C2H2 plus H2O. So if you people see in this reaction, H2O is being removed. So this type of example is of dehydration. If water is being removed from reaction, then it is a dehydration example. Already you people have seen hydration and dehydration mechanism with respect to alcohols and ethers in our PUC second year syllabus. So option D is dehydration mechanism. Option C is electrophilic substitution. Option B is nucleophilic substitution. And option 1 is free radical mechanism. So which is an example? Option C, nitration of benzene is an example of electrophilic. Okay, so quickly we people will move on to our next question, that is question number 6. Which of the following molecule is most suitable to disperse benzene in water? So my dear students, benzene is a non-polar compound and water is a polar compound. How do we identify whether a compound is polar or non-polar? Suppose, say for example, if I draw the structure of water, H2O, if I look at the electronegativity differences of oxygen and hydrogen, hydrogen is almost 2.1 on Pauling scale, this hydrogen will be again 2.1 on Pauling scale, and oxygen is almost 3.5 on Pauling scale. That means oxygen is more electronegative than hydrogen. So this electron will be attracted towards oxygen. Okay, because of which hydrogen will become positive and oxygen will become negative. So what has happened over here? We people have developed charge, and development of these charges is actually called as polarity. So in water molecule, because of oxygen becoming negative and hydrogen becoming positive, polarity is developed, and we say that the compound is polar in nature. Suppose, say for example, if I have carbon and hydrogen, hydrogen is having a Pauling scale of 2.1 and carbon is having a Pauling scale of electronegativity on a Pauling scale of 2.2. For hydrogen it is 2.1, for carbon it is 2.2. We will say that the difference in electronegativity is almost similar. Now the electrons which are present at the end of carbon and hydrogen, where it should move? This is also almost 2.2 and this is also almost 2.1 or 2.2. So when the electronegativity difference becomes same, these electrons, they do not migrate, they stay at their orbital position, because of which there is no development of charge. Here you cannot say that carbon will become positive or hydrogen will become positive. There is no development of polarity. When the electronegativities are same, at that particular point of time, the type of compound which is formed will be non-polar. Okay, now the question says that which of the molecule is most suitable to disperse benzene? If you want to disperse benzene, and benzene is which kind of molecule? Non-polar molecule. If you want to disperse a non-polar molecule, you need a non-polar compound. Why? We know the famous quotation of the solution, that is solute and solvent theory. Like dissolves and unlike not. What is like? Polar can dissolve polar, non-polar will get dissolved in non-polar. Just like NaCl is polar and water is polar, right? Na plus and Cl minus NaCl is polar. H2O, H is positive and oxygen is negative. So in both the cases polarity is there. So that's why if you dissolve sodium chloride in water, it will easily get dissolved. But if you take oil and try to dissolve in water, it will not get dissolved. Why? Water is polar but oil is non-polar in nature. So that's why dissolving of oil in water will not take place. In same way, polar will dissolve, non-polar will dissolve with each other, but polar with non-polar will not dissolve. So unlike will not dissolve, but like will get dissolved. So if we see here, oxygen is negative, sodium is positive, this is polar example. Again oxygen is negative, sodium is positive, this is also polar example. Here chlorine is negative and the carbon which is present over here will become minor positive. Why? Chlorine is 3 almost on electronegativity, carbon is 2.2. So there is electronegativity difference in between these two. the electron should move towards chlorine, because of which chlorine will become negative and carbon will become positive. So here there is development of polarity. But if you look at this structure, here this is carbon, 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 and carbon. This benzene ring is again completely made up of carbon atoms, and in CH3 also there is carbon. So in between the bonds all are carbon, that means electronegativity differences are same. So that's why this compound should be non-polar. Here there is electronegativity difference, but in this compound there is no electronegativity difference. So that's why this is non-polar compound. So which compound is suitable to dissolve benzene? Non-polar compound. So it should be option C. A non-polar should dissolve or should disperse in non-polar only. So the right option over here is option. Let us quickly move to question number 7. Ozone hole refers to, first of all, try to understand what is ozone hole. Ozone hole is formed due to depletion in ozone layer. What is the formula of ozone? O3. O3 layer is called as ozone layer. So when there is depletion in O3 layer, then the ozone hole is formed. So what is the meaning of depletion? Try to understand what is depletion. Depletion is reduction in thickness, reduction in thickness of layer. It does not mean that in ozone layer there will be a formation of hole. If this is ozone layer, okay, here there will be one hole. No, not like that. If this is like, suppose if this is the range of ozone layer is this thick, what will happen at some point? The layer will get decreased in the sense the thickness of the layer will get reduced. When the thickness at such points will get reduced, this is referred as hole. Hole in the sense it will not be completely transparent. The size of the layer will get reduced in terms of thickness. So in hole in the layer cannot be option. The hole does not form. It is nothing but the thickness of the layer will get reduced. Second, increase in concentration of ozone layer. If the ozone layer concentration increases, the size or the thickness of this layer will increase. So hole does not means the thickness increase. Hole means the thickness should decrease. So option 1 and option 2 cannot be correct. Now look at option C and option D. Reduction in thickness and reduction in thickness. In both the cases, there is reduction in thickness of ozone layer. In one case they say troposphere, in another case they say stratosphere. So thickness in what? It should be thickness in stratosphere. Why? The ozone layer is present in stratosphere, so that's why it should be the reduction in thickness of stratosphere, not troposphere. So as ozone layer is present in stratosphere, it should be option D. There should be reduction in thickness of ozone layer in stratosphere. Okay. So this is our question number 7. Now let us move towards question number 8. Which of the following does not represent the correct order and properties indicated? Try to understand the question. Which of the following does not represent correct order? That means you need to find wrong order. हमें क्या पता करना है इनमें से कौन सा ऑर्डर गलत है? Which one is wrong order? We need to identify that. Our wrong order is the right answer. Okay. So we will start with option A, that is this order, and we'll try to understand what will happen. So they have clear cut mentioned in terms of size. So cationic size of nickel is more than chromium, than iron, and than manganese. So the size of nickel ion is greater and the size of manganese ion is smaller, they are saying. So to justify this order, we people will try to understand in terms of electronic configuration. So in D block elements, the first transition series starts from scandium, which is atomic number 21, then comes titanium with 22, vanadium with 23, chromium with 24, manganese with 25, then cobalt with not cobalt, it is iron with 26, cobalt with 27, nickel with 28, copper with 29, and zinc with 30. If we people look at the electronic configuration, up to argon, everybody is having same electronic configuration. What is the meaning of writing this electronic configuration like argon 3d1 and 4s2? I'll show you here at the bottom of this series. If I write it for scandium, which is atomic number 21, electronic configuration will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, these are 10 electrons, 3s2, 3p6. So look, 2, 8, 8. So this is in form of 2, 8, 8 electrons. Then comes 4s2 and 3d1. So if you people look at this configuration, 2 plus 8 will be 10, plus 8 will be 18. Up to here 18, it is the configuration of argon. So just to minimize the electronic configuration writing, this complete thing is written as argon. So it will be argon, 4s2 and 3d1. That is the thing which is mentioned over here. ये जो argon लिख रहे हैं, ये 18 इलेक्ट्रॉन्स का इलेक्ट्रॉनिक कॉन्फ़िगरेशन का शॉर्टकट है, और शॉर्टकट हमेशा नोबल गैस को रेफर कर कर लिखते हैं. So in this case, the nearest noble gas is argon. So that's why the shortcut electronic configuration is written with respect to argon. So it is 3d1 and 4s2. Then it will move to when we move from scandium to titanium, 3d1 say 3d2, 3d2 say 3d3, 3d3 say 3d4. Here 4s almost remains same. So scandium is 3d1, titanium is 3d2, vanadium is 3d3, chromium is 3d5. Sir, chromium should have been 3d4, but look, initially it was 3d4 and 4s2. One electron has been migrated to 3d4 because it will become 3d5 and 4s1. What is 3d5? D can accommodate how many electrons? 10 electrons. And exactly half-filled electronic configuration means 5 electrons. So 3d5 is exactly half-filled. Because it is exactly half-filled, it gains extra stability. Okay, so 3d5 configuration will make what? Chromium more stable. So that's why you see that for chromium they show a star mark, and for copper they show a star mark. Chromium will make exactly half-filled configuration, and copper will make exactly not exactly completely filled configuration. I'll show you here for copper also. Copper should be 3d9 and 4s2. For copper it has been written here 3d10 4s1. Initially it was 3d9 4s2. One electron migrated to 3d10, making it 3d9, making it 3d10 4s1. Now d orbital is completely filled. So what is d orbital? Completely filled. If we have a completely filled electronic configuration, this also gives extra stability. So chromium and copper are exception in first transition series, because chromium is exactly half filled and copper is completely filled. They gain extra stability. Here it will be 3d5, manganese will also be 3d5, then iron will be 3d6, cobalt will be 3d7, nickel will be 3d8, copper will be 3d10, and zinc will also be 3d10. Okay, if we people see, the filling of electron is increasing from scandium to zinc. इलेक्ट्रॉन क्या हो रहा है? स्कैंडियम से जिंक तक डी ऑर्बिटल के अंदर बढ़ रहे हैं, बट दे आर इंक्रीजिंग इन सेम ऑर्बिटल. So I can write electrons adding or increasing in same orbital, in same orbital. Okay, do remember this point. Now I'll just clear my slide and I'll try to explain you this thing in a little bit more detailed manner. जब हम स्कैंडियम से जिंक तक बढ़ेंगे, when we move from scandium to zinc, that is left to right, In left it was 3d1, and in right as we moved to 3d10. So the electrons are increasing in same orbital. Suppose this is the nucleus of my atom. Initially it was with 21 protons. Why? Scandium electronic configuration is 21. If number of protons are 21, then number of electrons will be 21, and zinc is 30. And this is the nucleus of zinc with 30 protons. Okay. Last orbital is which one? For scandium also 3d, and for zinc also it is 3d. In scandium we have only one electron, so I will draw one electron. But in zinc we have how many? 10 electrons. So I will draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in zinc we have 10 electrons. But look here. Here also the last orbital is 3d, here also the last orbital is 3d. But here we have 1 electron, here we have 10 electron. Which one will move closer towards nucleus? देखो न्यूक्लियस पॉजिटिव है, ये नेगेटिव है. यहां पर भी न्यूक्लियस पॉजिटिव है, ये नेगेटिव है. यहां पर न्यूक्लियस को देखेंगे तो 21 प्रोटॉन्स के साथ पॉजिटिव है. यहां पर न्यूक्लियस को देखेंगे तो 30 प्रोटॉन्स के साथ पॉजिटिव है. यहां पर डी ऑर्बिटल को देखेंगे तो 1 इलेक्ट्रॉन के साथ नेगेटिव है. यहां पर डी ऑर्बिटल को देखेंगे तो 10 इलेक्ट्रॉन्स के साथ नेगेटिव है. अब अट्रैक्शन किसमें ज्यादा होगा? यहां पॉजिटिव चार्जेस कम और नेगेटिव चार्जेस कम, अट्रैक्शन क्या होगा? कम होगा. अगर अट्रैक्शन कम होगा तो ये ऑर्बिटल नजदीक नहीं जाएगा. इफ द अट्रैक्शन बिटवीन न्यूक्लियस एंड ऑर्बिटल इज लेस, हियर द अट्रैक्शन बिटवीन न्यूक्लियस एंड ऑर्बिटल इज लेस, हियर द अट्रैक्शन बिटवीन न्यूक्लियस एंड ऑर्बिटल is more. Why? More electrons, more protons, more attractions. Less protons, less electrons, less attraction. If the attraction is more, radii should what? Decrease. Why? Orbital will come closer to nucleus. Actually यहाँ रहने का orbital कहाँ तक आ जाएगा? यहाँ तक आ जाएगा. So the size of atom will decrease. That means radii will decrease. Here radii will not decrease. It will remain same. Okay, that means the radius of scandium is more on comparison with radius of zinc. Radius of zinc is less. So when we move from scandium to zinc, the atomic radii should decrease. The atomic and ionic radii decreases from left to right. From left to right, ionic radii should what? Decrease, right? So if people look at series of scandium, titanium, it's mentioned here, scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium. Who comes first? Chromium. That means the size of chromium ion is greater. Then comes manganese. The size of manganese ions is smaller. Why? After chromium manganese है, तो क्रोमियम का साइज बड़ा होगा और मैंगनीज का छोटा. वाई? द साइज इज गेटिंग डिक्रीज फ्रॉम स्कैंडियम टू जिंक. स्कैंडियम से जिंक जब हम आ रहे हैं तो साइज क्या हो रहा है? डिक्रीज हो रहा है. तो क्रोमियम ज्यादा रहेगा, मैंगनीज कम रहेगा. मैंगनीज से कम किसका रहेगा? इट विल बी ऑफ आयरन. तो मैंगनीज इज ग्रेटर इन साइज व्हेन कंपेयर टू आयरन. एंड देन फ्रॉम आयरन इफ यू मूव टुवर्ड्स निकल, फाइनली निकल विल बी हैविंग द स्मॉलेस्ट रेडियाई. So the right order of atomic or ionic radii is chromium, manganese, iron, nickel. But what is given in option A? First nickel, then chromium, then iron and manganese. That means this trend is wrong and our answer is right. For question number 8, the wrong trend is first one. It should not be this one. It should have been this trend. So this is the wrong trend and this trend is the right. If we move from left side of periodic table to right side of periodic table, the ionic radii should decrease. The shortcut things we people have discussed previously in first year. If you know the shortcut that if you move from left to right, you can answer in 1 second only. Okay. If not, you have to go through all these electronic configurations. Okay. So it is 1. And the rest of 3, these are the correct orders. You can refer your textbook. I'll just give you the hint. Scandium, titanium, chromium, manganese. As we move down the group, the size is decreasing. It is the correct order. Unpaired electron in manganese, there will be more. 3D, manganese is 3D5. Here there are 5 electrons. nickel is actually 3d7, but if we see, there are 2 unpaired electrons. In cobalt there are 3, in iron there are 4. So in manganese 5, then nickel 2, 3 and 4. From nickel to iron increase हो रहा है, manganese to nickel decrease हो रहा है. The order is right. Similarly, you can find it for D option also. But the right option over here is A. It is the wrong. Okay, so let us move towards question number 9. If we look at this compound, let me say that this is my first carbon atom, this is my second carbon atom, this is my third carbon atom, and this carbon is actually my substituent group. Okay, so if I want to name this compound, it will be bromopropane. Why? There are 3 carbon atoms in straight chain, so it will be propane connected with a bromine, so it will be bromopropane. At the second carbon atom, we people have a methyl group, so it will be 2-methyl bromopropane. So when we people talk about 2-methyl bromopropane reaction, when it is being reacted in presence of methanol, at that particular point of time, the bromine will cleave from here. The bromine will cleave from here. Okay. So why the bromine is getting cleaved from here? The carbon which is here, it is sp3 hybridized carbon atom. It is connected to an isopropyl group, which is good electron donating in nature. So bromine can be easily left from this side. So this bromine can be easily left from here. So it will lead to formation of like carbon connected with I'll just erase this thing. Carbon, it is connected with another carbon which is connected with 3 hydrogen, CH3, CH3, CH and carbon. Now this carbon atom is connected to 2 other hydrogen atoms. CH2, I am opening it now. You can see this CH2, I am writing it as CH2. The bromine which was there, now it has gone. Bromine will move out in form of Br minus. So I'll write minus Br minus. If Br goes in form of minus, carbon should become plus. So now there will be formation of carbocation. So now when there is formation of carbocation, you just look at this carbon atom. What is the state of this carbon atom? This carbon atom is 1 degree carbon. Why it is 1 degree carbon atom? It is 1 degree carbon atom or 1 degree carbocation, we people can say, because it is connected to another 1 carbon atom. If it was connected with 2 carbon, we would have said 2 degree. If it was connected to 3 carbon atom, 3 degree. Look, these 2 carbon atoms are connected to this carbon and this carbon is connected to this carbon. That means this main carbon is connected to only 1 carbon atom, because of which we people say that it is 1 degree carbocation. Okay. Now I'll write a clear cut picture for it, where you can easily understand. If I remove bromine from here, the carbon which is connected to mere carbon, this carbon is connected to 2 other carbons, that is CH3 and CH3, and here it is connected to hydrogen, and this carbon, main one, this CH2 carbon, is connected to 2 other hydrogen atoms, and now it has become positive because bromine was negative. So this carbocation which is being formed is 1 degree in nature. Why it is connected to only, see here, it is connected to only 1 carbon atom, so it is 1 degree in nature. Now everybody knows that 1 degree carbocations are less stable. What is the stability order of carbocation? 3 degree are more stable than 2 degree than 1 degree. So when we compare stability, 2 degree carbocations are more stable on comparison with 1 degree. So in some cases we people have also witnessed that 2 degree are more stable when compared to 3 degree, but it depends upon the exceptional cases. So here we people want to know that 2 degree is more stable when compared to 1 degree carbocation. If I want to convert this 1 degree carbocation into 2 degree, what I have to do is I have to do a hydride shift, or I can say that the reaction undergoes hydride shift to gain stability. Look, everything in chemistry is all about being stable. If you become more stable, and for becoming more stable they can do anything. So the molecules will make such a kind of adjustment that they will become stable. So what will happen is, now see here, the hydrogen which is present here, this hydrogen will be given to which carbon? This carbon atom. As soon as we give it to that carbon atoms, look at the stability structure. This carbon is connected to CH3, and this carbon atom will now get converted from CH2. Already 2 hydrogen are there. If it takes this hydrogen also, it will also become CH3, right? Hydrogen has been lost, so that's why the electron has been lost. This carbon should become positive. Now look, this carbon which is present over here is which carbon? Now we people know the stability order. 2 degree is more stable than 1 degree, and 3 degree is more stable than 2 degree. The carbon which is having positive charge is connected to how many carbon atoms? 1, 2 and 3. If it is connected to 3 carbon atoms, then it should be which in degree? 3 degree. So here the carbocation which is been formed by hydride shift is becoming what? 3 degree. That means it is becoming more stable. 1 degree was less stable and 3 degree is more stable here, right? So stability has been increased. As soon as it becomes more stable, now what will happen to this compound? Nothing. It's very simple. I'll show you over here what will happen further in the reaction. Why? I don't want to take more time now. The video is becoming more lengthy. The bromine which has been lost, I am coming to CH3OH. In CH3OH plus, if I take Br minus, you see the hydrogen, oxygen is minor negative, hydrogen is minor positive. So what will happen? This hydrogen will combine with bromine and it will form HBr minus HBr. हाइड्रोजन किसको लेके जाएगा? ब्रोमीन को ले लेगा, और क्या बनेगा? HBr. तो बचेगा क्या? CH3O and oxygen will become minus. Oxygen will become minus. So this minus oxygen will attack on this plus carbon. तो ये नेगेटिव ऑक्सीजन किस पे अटैक करेगा? प्लस पे. ब्रोमीन का केस खत्म हो गया. ब्रोमीन एंड हाइड्रोजन कंबाइन होके HBr बनकर बाहर निकल रहे हैं. बचा कौन? CH3O और ये वाला प्लस. अब ये दोनों एक दूसरे के साथ जुड़ जाएंगे. When they combine with each other, sorry, I'll just draw right arrow mark. When they combine with each other, what will be the product formed? See here, carbon was connected to how many CH3 groups? 3. 1, 2 and 3 CH3 group. This was positive here and this was negative here. This positive negative will combine with each other and they will form a bond. Oxygen will give electron to carbon. ऑक्सीजन के पास एक इलेक्ट्रॉन ज्यादा है, कार्बन के पास एक कम है. ऑक्सीजन अपना एक इलेक्ट्रॉन कार्बन को देगा. बोथ ऑफ देम विल म्यूचुअली शेयर these electrons and they will form a covalent bond. And this oxygen is connected with CH3. So this is our final product which is been formed in our reaction. So just check out where is this. Yes, it is present as option D. So option D will be the major product which will be formed in this reaction. Okay. Sir, what will be the minor product? Look, अगर 1 डिग्री से 3 डिग्री को चेंज नहीं हुआ तो OCH3 यहीं पे कनेक्ट हो जाएगा. CH3, CH3H, CH2O, CH3 बन जाएगा. So this product will be minor, right? टर्मिनल एंड पे कनेक्ट हो गया तो माइनर, सेंटर में कनेक्ट हो गया तो मेजर. How can you distinguish between minor and major? If the product is formed by 1 degree compounds, it is less stable, so that's why it is minor. So minor compounds are always less stable compounds. If the product is formed by 3 degree stability compounds, the product is always major and it is more stable. Okay, so the right option over here is option D. It will be major product. Why? Because it is more stable product. Okay, so this was our question number 9. Now Let us move towards question number 10. So in question number 10, just look at these values. N is equal to 3, L is equal to 2, M1 is minus 2, N is equal to 3, L is equal to 1, M1 is 0. All these values have been given. What are these values? N is principal quantum number and L is azimuthal quantum number. For quantum number, I'll write Qn. And when we people talk about ML, it is magnetic orientation, and when we talk about MS, it is spin. Okay. So principal quantum number, azimuthal quantum number, magnetic quantum number, and spin quantum number. So these are the four basic quantum numbers of atom which are associated with atom. Okay. So how do we use these four principal quantum numbers? Just we will check it out. So here we people have a reference table. N is my principal quantum number, PQN. L is my azimuthal quantum number, AQN. ML is my magnetic quantum number, MQN, and MS is my spin quantum number. Okay. If the value of N is 1, value of L should be 0, M should be 0. If the value of M is 0, it can have two spins, that is plus half and minus half, and the capacity of the orbital will be of 2 electrons. If the N value is 2, it can have two azimuthal quantum numbers, that is 0 and 1, which denotes S orbital and P orbital. In S orbital, it can have a magnetic value of 0, and in P, we can have a magnetic value of minus 1, 0, and plus 1. Okay. Again, they can have only two types of spin. The spin will remain everywhere same, plus half, minus half. If N is equal to 3, it can have three azimuthal quantum numbers 0, 1, and 2. For 0, it will have only one value, that is 0. For 1, it will have three values, minus 1, 0, and plus 1. For 2, it will have 5 values, minus 2, minus 1, 0, plus 1, and plus 2. Okay. If the quantum number is 4, it can have 4 values, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. For 0, it will be 0. For 1, it will be minus 1, 0, plus 1. For 2, it will be minus 2, minus 1, 0, plus 1, plus 2. For 3, it will be minus 3, minus 2, minus 1, 0, plus 1, plus 2, and plus 3. Okay. So now we will come back to our question. Of these questions, state designation which does not describe the allowed state. That means which of the following above given data is not a form of allowed state or existing orbital. If the value of N is 3, L can have 2 and it can have a range of minus 2. If the value of N is 3, L can have 2 and it can have minus 2. It is an allowed state, right? If value of N is 3, L can have 1 and M can have 0. Value is 3, L can have 1 and M can be 0. So it can also be an allowed state. Now if we come to 3, if the value of N is 3, L can have 0 and M can have minus 1. The value is 3 and the value of L is 0. If the value of L is 0, then what should be value of M1? It should be 0. For 0, it should be 0. Look, when L was 1, ऑप्शन 2 के अंदर अगर हम देखेंगे, जब L की वैल्यू 1 थी, L की वैल्यू कितनी थी? 1 थी. एट दैट पर्टिकुलर टाइम M कैन बी 0. यहाँ पर 0 आप देख सकते हैं, ये वैल्यू M की 0 है. लेकिन जब L की वैल्यू 0 है तो M की वैल्यू -1 हो सकती है? नहीं हो सकती है. सिर्फ L की वैल्यू क्या हो सकती है? 0 हो सकती है. दैट मीन्स द थर्ड वन इज नॉट एन अलाउड स्टेट. ठीक है, आई विल जस्ट rub these things. Okay, अब आते हैं फोर्थ पर. If the value of N is 3, the value of N is 3, the value of L is 2 and M is 0. अगर L की वैल्यू 2 है तो M क्या इसमें 0 है? आप देख सकते हैं M वैल्यू आर टोटली हाउ मेनी वैल्यूज? 5 वैल्यूज, among which 0 is also one option. That means M can have 1. Now if n is equal to 3 in fifth one, L is equal to 3, M is equal to minus 2. Okay. So for going with last option, value of n is how much? 3. N की value 3 है, principal quantum number is 3, L is 3. Look here, where is L? 3. The value of L is not 3. Do remember, n is never equal to L. n is always greater than L. ये वाला फॉर्मूला आप याद रखेंगे तो ऐसे टाइप के क्वेश्चंस इजीली सॉल्व हो सकते हैं. व्हाट आर दे सेइंग? n is equal to 3 and L is equal to 3. So what is the condition? The principal quantum number and azimuthal quantum number are same. No, principal quantum number is always high and azimuthal quantum number is less. Now you can see in case of n is equal to 1, L is equal to 0. So when n is equal to 1, the value of L is how much? 0. When n is equal to 2, the value of L is 0, 1. That means it is always less than 1. When n is equal to 3, value of L is 0, 1, 2. And when n is equal to 4, the value of L is 0, 1, 2 and 3. That means the value of L is always less than principal quantum number. But in this case, principal quantum number and azimuthal quantum number are same. That means this cannot be a allowed state. So which are not allowed state? 3 and 4 are not allowed state. Look at the option. Option B says 3 and 4 is present over here. Sorry, 3 and 5 is present over here. So this is not an allowed state. That is our right option. This is not allowed state and this is our right option for question number